For the alternate timeline, things went differently. This is the alternate North America scenario. So, this will be starting with the Cold War conflicts in this series. So, basically, the Allies defeated the bad Germans in World War II, and and we could do events before that era, but the map would be even worse as well. But basically, this is Canada. Canada did not collapse yet. This country here is Emily Land, and this country up here is the country of Halo. Both of these countries were kind of like protectorates, which for Native American tribes. So both of these countries basically just exist as protectorates for Inuit ethnicities. But in the 1950s, this was an era of strife in this American area. Yeah. We had the war. We'll be mostly focusing on Northern America. Go. The year is 1950. The Korean War begins. The USA, California, Cell, and the Republic of Michigan and Canada all join on the side of the UN, along with Texas and Mexico. The Korean War ends in basically how it ends in our timeline. Well, it's split into two countries, North and South Korea. But another civil war happens, the Frostian Civil War, or you could use bits again. But I call it the country Frost because it's a cold country. Yes, I made this map when I was in high school. But basically, the communists declare war backed by the Soviet Union on Michigan. It's mostly the rebels mostly appear in Upper Michigan and Southern Michigan, or Frost, and they start to make their way forward. This is a pretty alarming thing because it's going to allow the spread of communism in North America. The country of Frost is halted by the Frost communist forces are halted by Canadian forces. Says here. Basically blocking the Canadian and the Soviet Union. You'd think this would be an unwinnable war, but a communist coup happened in Rhodesia. Rhodesia isn't a very populated country, but this might be the help it needs to push them over the edge. Rhodesia sent troops to Frost as well, but the battle did not become a hot war because of this. Frost, however, is no longer become a Christian country after the end of this war, and the rest of Frost surrenders. Joining the communists as well. Basically, a communist pact is signed between Frost and Rhodesia. Both countries become allies against Western adversity. We're not going to throw in all of these islands over here, as it's kind of a waste of time. We will, however, fill in the Delaware area. The West, however, is distraught by this. Davis, the country of Davis, which is a small country right here, becomes under Western influence, alongside of Adri Land as well. But a rebellion comes as well. Ever since the colonization of Anime Land, which is Wisconsin, in this timeline, they have basically wanted independence. A civil war erupts in Michigan, and Anime Land quickly continues to fight for independence. Amiland is demographically different than the rest of the country and does not want to be a part of Missigania. Amiland is a very strange area as well, and it's mostly a weird, like culturally, it's an area that's culturally and ethnically differently than the rest of Missigania, and they sort of seen this coming. But with the help of the rest, the war between Amiland and Missigania continues. However, in Canada, a coup happens. In it, it becomes Dylan's empire. Dylan Smith basically wants to revive the old spirit of Canada and basically wants to eliminate all the people here, which are very ethnically, demographically different than the Anglo and French areas here. Basically, it's a Mustache Man 2.0, if I'm basically talking here. So basically, all the ethnic Friesans, Wyukins, Torrens, Sonic people, ethnic Davisians and ethnic Rukians, and even the ethnic Russians who live in Kur and other areas are now scared because of this coup as well. Because as of this point, the population imbalance is still very much here. There's around 12 million people here, but in all of these areas combined, there's only around 11 million. There is around 7 million people. Meanwhile, in the rest of the country, there's also around 1 million people here as well. This is why I'm not covering these islands. Okay. As well. Yeah. A new frontier is created here. Well, European settlers from Tosoro start to settle here. The Russians are kind of left off the hook and also start to settle here in this large empty expanse as well. Meanwhile, that's happening, Missigania since this is an independence war, Missigania pushes back Amiland very quickly. Amiland has way less population than Missigania. Yeah. However, a new faction arises in the country, the Communist faction. This faction wanted to make the country a republic, but this faction wanted to make the faction a communist faction. Supported by both Rhodesia and Frost, these areas basically support communism in the area. The push for communism is a very alarming trend, as the dictator Amikana Tensaku basically wants to form, basically a Animos ethno-state, which is the main ethnicity in Animeland. And the word Animeland derives from the broken English version of Animos River, which is where Milwaukee is in our timeline. However, another war happens. I'll be using different colors for this war, but this is the Frost Dylan's Empire War. This war is going to be very deadly. We'll be using some sort of a green here to simplify this war. At the same time, the war between Frost and Dylan's Empire starts as well. Most of the people in Frost identify as Frostian. Identify with, former colonial era. But this communist nation is losing very quickly as well. Missigania and the USA support the battle against Dylan's empire. Yeah, but it's only military support for now. No, there's no actual boots on the ground for now. The war becomes a stalemate because of the support. Meanwhile, Anime Land continues to acquire the areas. Yes, as well. Because of the threat of Dylan's empire, there was a truce basically created here, where basically both countries will sign a non-aggression pact. But now the big war begins. We'll be erasing the factions for now, because the big war, and yeah, this will be de facto borders. Everywhere does not gain their independence until after the war against Dylan's empire. Yeah. But the worst war since World War II begins. The war against Dylan's empire. Dylan's empire, however, was not expecting a coalition against them. Thus, the Great American War, or known as internationally as World War III. Yes, World War III against basically Canada and its allies in Europe and Africa. A bunch of the nations are basically declaring war on this country. Meanwhile, the CSA and Texas and Mexico stay neutral. The battle for Frost begins as well, and Frost is pushed back a lot, as Dylan's empire was only using very small of its military might. Also, the invasion of the Upper Peninsula begins as well here, pushing back the battle here. The invasion of Maine begins, and Maine forces are pushed back in the USA as well. This is largely upsetting for the USA and the Allied forces, as they have underestimated Dylan's empire. Britain is of course disappointed in its former colony for indulging in such ideologies, but again, this isn't too surprising, as Canada basically became a very poor country after the end of World War II, and kind of been put on the back burner as well. Yeah. The battle for Davis begins, and a lot of these southern cities are starting to be captured as well to reunite Canada's lost territories, or now Dylan's empire. The battle for the coast of Rhodesia begins. Rhodesia is now being invaded alongside Northern Anime Land as well. So the beginning of the war is going very well for Dylan's empire. Yeah. The Dylan's empire, however, only has a population of around 23 million. The coalition that is fighting against them has a population of around 63 million. Including Europe, that's around 153 million people as well. Dylan's empire also starts to invade Cell. Cell has only a population of just around 2 million people. Cell is a very weak and undeveloped country. It is defeated relatively quickly. Seattle and everything was captured so quickly that Cell surrenders. Davis, however, does not want to surrender, despite the second biggest city, Livy, is near close to capture. The invasion of Adri Land begins as well here, as basically the invasion of Adri Land goes greatly, not horribly, as well. The invasion of southern Rhodesia and the invasion of Wright begins as well. Rhodesia becomes basically a very, very dysfunctional state. Rhodesia is mostly reliant on oil resources. Dylan's empire took basically a lot of the oil fields from... Dylan's empire is now taking a lot of the oil fields away from... The USA and its allies are begging the CSA and Texas to join. Because if not, Dylan's empire will take over and basically create a neo-fascist state. Texas decides to join in the war as well, but Mexico does not. The invasion of Rhodesia continues as well as the invasion of the country becomes even more pronounced. Rhodesia only has a population of just around 2 million. So Rhodesia and the south of but however, Davis and Rhodesia do not want to surrender as well. They try to invade Rio City, which becomes a massive failure. And this becomes the first military failure for Dylan's empire, despite invading a bunch of southern Davis, which is kind of the only area they have. Rhodesia, however, is being split apart, with White basically being surrounded. The battle for Michigan, they start to invade Michigan and the more Indiana territories. They also start to invade the USA as well, with New York and Pennsylvania becoming invaded. They start to invade a lot of the northern portion of the country as well. And Maine is almost completely captured. However, Dylan's empire realizes that there's two countries that are in the way. Yes, Emeryland and Halo. Halo is basically an island country. And no, we will not be filling in the islands that have like no people. Halo also does not own this island. Because of the British Empire. But basically, the invasion of Halo, which is a country that only has like 30,000 people, is now being invaded by Dylan's empire. However, because of foreign troops, the army does not get that far. Emeryland, however, is completely surrounded, especially in winter. Emeryland only has around 200,000 people. Emeryland surrenders within a couple days. It is now 1970. Which for most countries it would be which in our time it was a very good era. With the end of the Vietnam War, which also is happening in this time, but the Vietnam War, however, there's no massive draft for that war, and basically the war is between Dylan's empire and the West and Soviet Union. However, the Soviet Union decides to join the war. The Soviet Union starts to invade Kura or Alaska. Kura starts to be invaded as well. But Dylan's empire put a stop to that. And these islands basically became a stalemate. Dylan's empire is being spread thin. With too many fronts. Because you have the California front, the Texas front, the battle against Land. You have the battle against Rhodesia. You have the battle against. You have this front here. You have this front here. This front here. This front here, and this massive front here. Dylan's empire's front is being spread thin as well. And now here as well. There are some small advances here and there in the next couple of years, but the war has basically ended into a stalemate as well. There have been some pushes here and there in more rural areas as well. But once they reach the more populated areas, this becomes a problem. Actually, I paused the video. But basically the Soviet Union took over this area around. It basically became a stalemate. This war became. And now basically they start pushing back against Dylan's empire. Dylan's empire starts being pushed back against in the conflict. And the battle against Ankura declares its independence. they Emiraland is also liberated as well, and the Republic of Halo, or the Kingdom of Halo, is being liberated as well. Yeah, due to foreign troops and Dylan's empire being split too thin, because you have to realize Dylan's empire has all of these fronts they have to worry about. Yeah, they're starting to be pushed back on all of them. Yeah. There's also they were hoping that the Vietnam War would rectify things. Also, Mexico joins the war as well as the CSA, putting the world truly against Dylan's empire alongside Greenland or the North Pole, also joining the war. The invasion of Dylan's empire begins. Yeah. The invasion starts to begin here, as well as these countries basically start to take over all of this land. Yeah. Cell is also liberated as well. North Amaranth and most of Rhodesia is liberated as well, and now we enter 1973, the last year of the war, and also ironically the last years of the Vietnam War as well, but both wars are taking place at the exact same time. Davis and Frost basically declared their independence as well. Basically what happens is there is a slow march towards Toronto and Ottawa, and Dylan's empire surrenders. This happens in the span of a couple months, as well as they still had to fight for the brutal winter conditions. But even with winter being very brutal, they were still able to defeat Dylan's empire. Now let's do the peace treaty as well. Amaranth, as promised, becomes an independent socialist republic as well. But now let's do what to do with the North. Well, it's time to balkanize Canada. Yes. Alaska, or Kura, gains its independence. Yeah. Yeah. These areas become an independent state. Yeah. And what happened to Ontario? Well, instead of giving French Canada its independence, nope, they're not going to do that. They're going to give this area its independence. Rhodesia also gained some land out of this as well, creating the modern day borders practically of the cold countries as well, giving the Arctic a new geopolitical world. Yeah. Yeah. All countries hopefully will remain democracies and will stay out of the Cold War. We hope. Davis finally gets its old lands back, as this is a part of Davis as well. Also, there's a little four quarters here as well, which is the only other area, these areas are the only areas where four quarters meet. But basically in 1974, this land was exchanged for this land, which ends that entire whole thing. But basically because this is the Arctic, there is really no basis Here, Rukia also gained some land down here, create a large border here. So this would be the current map here as of now. So that's the alternate history. And yeah, we are sorry for pausing the video randomly as well. But Dylan's empire was defeated. It was destroyed as well. There was no more Dylan's empire as well. And now the year is 1975, and Texas and Rhodesia go to war.